You may have heard by now about the latest incident involving a couple of passengers on an Air Canada flight who didn't create a stink but actually ended up in one after refusing to sit on vomit-covered seats for a 5-hour flight.
This is awful.
It is. If you can imagine what this must have been like. Well, you don't have to, because our next guest, Susan Benson, was on that flight and she saw the whole thing go down. She's on the line right now. Susan, thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I don't want to dramatize anything here, but can you just, first of all, you were sitting where, directly behind these people?
Yes, I was directly behind them. I was in row 33 and they were row 32.
Okay, so you saw this all go down. Can you just kind of fill us in, give us the lowdown on what you saw, what happened?
Well, we boarded the flight before they did, so we were already sitting and settled when they come on, and we noticed they just were struggling to get seated and settled. And my daughter-in-laws were with me, and we said we could sort of smell a foul smell.
Ooh.
And the ladies, the one in the middle whose seat was directly affected, was standing up, and she turned around to us and said, I can't sit down. There's been vomit in my seat. My whole area is a mess. And I said, well, that must be what we're smelling. She said, oh, for sure. She said they've attempted to clean it up. There's coffee ground pouch in the seat back, and they've sprayed perfume, but it is still wet. There's still vomit on my seat belt, on the seat in front of it. Like, they clearly knew that it was vomit immediately. And and she had pushed the button for the flight attendant to come. So while she was waiting, because people are still boarding, it's still busy, she just was standing and talking to me. And we had been in Vegas to the Adele show, and I had Adele t-shirt on, so that she's like, oh, you were at Adele, so were we. We've been in Vegas, and we're heading back to Vienna via Montreal. And so we just were having conversation, waiting for the flight attendant to take a moment to come and deal with it. And so then when the flight attendant come, she explained, yes, we know it was they called it I can't remember exactly if the vomit happened on the flight before, a miscommunication with the cleanup crew, I believe was their words.
So I just stop you for 1 second. So you're telling me that now, when the flight attendant finally showed up, that flight attendant already knew that seat had vomit on it?
Oh, yes. They knew. They had called a cleaning crew to come in, like, as soon as they boarded the plane. I'm assuming they could smell it. They located where the smell is coming from, realized it wasn't cleaned up from the night before, called a cleaning crew ASAP because we're supposed to be boarding. A cleaning crew came, did, I assume, the best they could in this short amount of time. They claimed that they changed the seat cover, but the lady kept saying, my seat is still wet. I can't sit in it. It's wet. And they said, well, it's only wet because we just cleaned it. And she said, well, it's not clean and it's wet. I can't sit in a wet seat for 4 hours or 5, whatever, from Las Vegas to Montreal.
Susan, how perturbed was she when she was explaining this to the flight attendant?
She was firm, but by no means, rude or
Unruly.
overreacting. Okay. There was no yelling. There was no, she was very firm and clearly upset. And she just said, I cannot sit in a wet seat. And the flight attendant was 100% apologetic. And I feel like it was out of their hands. Like, I feel bad they were put in that situation because they kept saying, the flight is full. Like, there's nothing we can do. I'm so sorry. I wouldn't want to sit in it either, but there's nothing I can do for you, which I don't understand why they were not offered, blanket to sit on or something from the get-go. They really had to plead and fight and get a supervisor involved. And I don't know why it escalated. Like, why did they not think I should at least get them something to sit on or some wipes to clean it better themselves?
Okay.
She held up her seatbelt and said, just look at my seatbelt. Is it still wet? She just had it pinched in the tiny corner of the seatbelt to hold it up. She said, there's still vomit on it. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. We did clean it. She's like, no, it is not clean. I can't put the seatbelt across my waist and touch my clothes with it.
Okay.
Well,
how does this go from that to them getting escorted off the plane?
Well, the first flight attendant said, I'll have to call my supervisor. The supervisor flight attendant came, reiterated the same thing. We're so sorry. It was a miscommunication with the cleaning crew. We rushed a cleaning crew in. It's only wet because we just cleaned it. We did put the coffee grinds and sprayed some perfume. Like, they're just the same thing all over again. We're so sorry, but there's nothing we can do. And that's what it was. Then they said, you've got to at least give me something to sit on. We can't sit in this seat like this. And she said, can you get me some blankets? And she's like, well, I think we probably could do that. So I'm assuming they had to get them out of first class or something. I don't know. They finally did come back with blankets and wet ones and some more vomit bags. The ladies, used the plastic from the blanket bag to put on the seats. They covered all 3 seats with the plastic, then a blanket. Then they had another blanket to put over their clothes so the seatbelt didn't have to touch their clothing. They had wet ones to wipe up as best they could. And once they, just got all settled in their seats, that's when the pilot came down. And he was very calm. He knelt down eye level with them. I thought he was going to be like, I'm so sorry, I just heard about this. But instead, he's like, you ladies need to leave my flight right now.
So wait, there was no discussion, no nothing.
None.
He just came over.
No, hello, can I hear your side? He literally just said, you ladies you have 2 choices. You can leave on your own accord and figure out your own flights home, or I will get security to escort you off. And if that's the case, you'll be placed on a no-fly list. And they were like, excuse me? And he repeated it again. And they're like, why? And he said, you were rude to the flight attendant. And that's when the passenger sitting beside them, a gentleman, he said, let me talk to him in French, because they were all very French. And so he conversed with the pilot in French. I don't understand French, so I don't know what he said. But when the pilot got up and left, he faced the ladies and said, I just explained to the pilot that I'm a police officer in Montreal and that we would never treat people like this, and that you were not rude, and that your seat is definitely wet and had visible vomit. But you're settled now. We got blankets, we got wipes. So can it just be over and can we go? And so we just thought that was it. Like, we're on our way.
Yeah.
And then security came back, and I just looked at my daughter-in-law and said, this isn't good. And they still just said, can you ladies come? We want to talk to you privately, but make sure you bring all your stuff. And I just thought, oh, this is not good. And then they never came back, of course, and we watched out the window while they unloaded their luggage from underneath us. And when they got 2 bags off, they put the rest of the luggage back on, and we took off. So, wow. And I've never heard what happened since.
So this is, as you're describing it, this is the pilot making that decision on his own, even after having talked to somebody else, explaining the situation, didn't say anything to them, just went back, and the next thing you know, security's on the plane.
100%. He did not ask their names. He did not ask their side of the story. He just said, I'm here to tell you, you've got 2 options.
And what's
leave on your own, or we'll...
It's so interesting to me that it was a police officer in plain clothes, on the flight, who intervened and explained, thought everything was settled, and it did nothing.
No.
This is wild, Susan.
Susan, we're running out of time. We want to read Air Canada statement because they did issue a statement. I thank you so much for having taken the time and explaining that. That was perfect. I could not have asked for a better explanation from anyone, and you were right there.
Sorry for you to have to sit. It must not have been a pleasant ordeal or a pleasant odor for you either. So thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, so here's the Air Canada statement.
Yeah, so they spoke to our colleagues over at CTV. A spokesperson says they're reviewing the matter. They admit their operating procedures were not followed, and they have apologized to the passengers involved.
That's it?
That's it so far.
Okay. So they have apologized, so they're not making it seem like it was their fault. This is Air Canada's way, I think, of saying we screwed up, right?
Which is rare. I mean, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. That's a big step in and of itself.
Yes.
That's quite a story.
It is.
Imagine that. And just after they laid down towels and covers and they were going to be on their way, they would have been fine. And along comes a pilot who's, for whatever reason, said, nope, not on my flight. And he's the one who controls the flight.
All I can think is that the flight attendant must have been perturbed and upset by the incident and perhaps vented about it, or maybe was emotional. Who knows?
Yeah, but
and he thought, I can't have this.
She described the flight attendants as actually being
calm
apologetic
and helping.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot more to this story.